Hello guys, welcome back to another Autistic Traits video. Today I want to tell you guys about awkward body positioning that is common among individuals with autism. So the way I'm going to approach this is just kind of show you like how I am, because that's what I have the expertise to speak about. Remember that every autistic person is different, so this isn't meant to be a catch-all, but the traits that I'm talking about in this series are kind of common ones. So, this is something that you might very well recognize in other autistic people, children, adults, across the board. So starting with my most common way of sitting is like this. So I'm kind of pretzeled. I like to have my leg underneath, and a lot of times I'm to the side, so like that. And if you watched my last autistic trait video about raptor hands, I explain a bit about how, because I can't feel where my body is in space, it's more comfortable for me to be pulled in. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I sit like this. And so usually it's like this, and a lot of times, a good 80% of the time, I'm also like hunched over and hugging myself. So I'm gonna do my best to show this to you guys. It's like this, and that's always like I'll have a hand here, and this is really hard to do without help, and I'll have a hand here. I like to have my hands on my legs or on my knees, and the reason this is so comfortable for me is because all of my limbs are touching each other. Everything's pulled in. I can feel my thigh against my chest here. This leg, my left leg, is kind of wrapped around my right leg, and my heel's kind of underneath my butt here, and I'm kind of just pulled in it in the most kind of crunched up way possible. And it's interesting with different body positions as one of the kind of markers for autistic traits, how a lot of them will look uncomfortable to other people, when in reality it's much more comfortable for me to be like this than any other way, really. So yeah, this is kind of my first way that I sit, and as you can tell, like, it's a really nice position for rocking for me. I always, like, a lot of times I'll have my cheek here, like so. And then another thing I do that's kind of strange is, most often if I am standing, I have like, I have a arm on my, this is hard, on my, yes, so I'll have an arm on my waist like this, and I'll have the other one kind of wrapped around, and I will link it here on my elbow, so like that. So like I've got sort of my waist, my abdomen kind of surrounded by my arms. It's very comfortable because I can feel all the way around the circumference of my body, so it's comfortable for that reason. And I already told you guys about raptor hands, kind of hanging like that. Another thing I do a lot is with my hands around my neck and my forearms pressed together like this. My arms are like this a lot, actually, because I have my clapping stim. It's always kind of like that. And then sort of my cross-body arms thing I do a lot. And then another weird sort of way that I sit is kind of the sort of like a stretch, a hip stretch, where I'm kind of pretzeled like this. And you know, I'll usually bend forward a lot. And yeah. Beyond that, there's my sort of distress position, which I'm kind of as closed as I can be, hugging my knees kind of tight to my chest. The squeezing my legs to my chest is giving me some deep pressure, so it's very calming. I like to like squeeze in like this, and this is also what I usually, just depending on where I am, is kind of my meltdown, post-meltdown, whatever position. And one of the things that I tell people, you know, who ask me how to help me during a meltdown or after a meltdown or whatever, you know, during a meltdown or a panic attack, because deep pressure therapy is extremely calming and helpful, and I don't have a weighted blanket or anything like that. You know, I'm usually in this position, and I'll just tell people to bear hug me, to wrap their arms around me in this position and just squeeze. So I'm squeezing and they're squeezing, and it's just a lot of really calming deep pressure. Yeah, so that's kind of it for that one. Other things that I have seen or whatever, and it's really hard also, a lot of my positions that aren't consistent, like ones that I gravitate to, there's also just really weird, like, I'm gonna do my best to show you guys this, but there's also really weird, like, this is probably one where I've got my legs crossed. I have my legs crossed a lot. So yeah, and it depends on what I'm doing. You know, a lot of times I'll kind of have my arm up, and like lately I've been doing this thing where I put it into the couch crack there, and so I'm like flexing my hand, which is a nice stretch kind of, and I've got my pretzel-y thing going on here. Yeah, excuse me. So it really just depends on how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, but it's usually not a normal position. It's always something strange. So the interesting thing about that, you guys, is when I, you know, explain how like it's a comfort issue and wanting to feel where my body is in space, and where the heck is my thing? Sorry guys. Wanting to feel where my body is in space, and so I've got this sort of pulled in, everything touching everything, but in the same way, when I'm in a weird position and my limbs are out, you know, or just really strange, like I kind of sprawl a lot. I'll sprawl and take up a lot of space, and that's almost, it seems kind of counterintuitive to the fact that like being out is uncomfortable for me, being pulled in is comfortable. But when I'm out and my position is not a normal one, there is more kind of tension on my muscles and in my joints, so I can feel that. I can feel where my body is, because the way that it's positioned is not a passive position. So yeah, that's kind of a few things that I do. I know there's a lot more weird things that I can't think of right now, or they're just so subconscious that I can't replicate them. And yeah, so if you have any weird stuff that you do, or your child or a loved one that you've noticed, kind of this weird body positioning thing, that's kind of a classic autism thing, and feel free to share some of the weird things, weird body positions that are comfortable for you. And so yeah, stay classy, stim freely, and I will catch you next time.